Hey everybody, John at IPT. Today we're going to be talking about Fast Intentions Flexplate, installing them. And this applies to any torque converter in any car when you get down to it. But these bolts run a little bit close, and it's something that's worth checking if you're putting one of these things in. It's, you know, a lot of guys with Q50s, Q60s, G37s, 370Zs, you know, when you have extra power, you're going to want one of these flex plates because the factory one is a piece of garbage and it's usually going to break on you. So let's get into this. All right, so when this thing's sitting in a car, this is what you don't want. So what the problem is, these bolts can bottom out in the torque converter while they're not cinched down against the flex plate. All right, so this is how you check for it, correct it, and make sure that everything's going to work properly for you. So we're going to use the vernier caliper. Take one of these bolts out, send it to the bottom. All right, and this is what we have, but that's not even really relevant. I'm just going to tighten it down and show you guys, if you could see that. You just have a very, very small amount of clearance. All right, this bolt is short enough. But again, they're close and you want to check them. So if they end up being too long, what you're going to want to do is find a nut that fits on them, take it to a grinder, and you're going to take off a couple threads. All right, and then you're going to be able to unspin the nut, which is going to comb your threads out straight again. So it's, you know, not going to be all buggered up when you put it back in. So what you want to do is when you put this back together, you're going to want to get them nice and tight and always red Loctite on them. And the other issue here, and we're not talking about Nissan, Infiniti, RE7s, anything in particular. We're talking about any transmission and any flex plate. What happens is not in these because they have a clutch pack, but a lot of transmissions, your converter clutch is going to ride up against the torque converter. Like this becomes a pressure plate for your torque converter clutch, and people go ahead and put long bolts in them, and it dimples this down. Right, so you'll have like 4 raised dimples on this surface that a clutch is riding on, and it rips the clutch apart. And you know, it happens pretty quickly. Within a few miles, it's going to rip the torque converter clutch apart, and it's typically going to clog up the filter. So the symptom of a clogged filter in a transmission is typically, but not always, it's going to make a whining noise, and it's going to stop moving. All right, so when it stops moving, a lot of times people shut the car off for a couple minutes and like, okay, hey, it moves again. But what's happening there is all this stuff gets sucked up into the filter, and when you shut the car off, it falls out. Okay, so when it falls out, it's not clogged. But in a couple minutes, it gets sucked back up in there. You'll get that whining sound because it's trying to pull fluid through the pump, but it can't, and it'll stop moving. So that's the symptom of a clogged filter in anything. You know, that's what you're looking out for. But the main point here, as I know a lot of you guys are using these when you have extra power in these cars, and they are necessary. But they're just, they're made correctly. He's got the correct bolts that he sells with them, but they're very, very close. So you could have dimensional differences or tolerance stack ups. So you always want to check for this and make sure you don't run into trouble with these. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.